All right, welcome back. Goodman versus Gottlieb, Tuesday afternoon edition. And make sure you scan that QR code and submit your questions, your comments. We'll take as many of them as we can throughout the week and for the rest of the season. Douglas, Kansas State with a big win last night. Second straight year. Last year I was there when they stormed the court after their win against rival Kansas. This year, Jareem Dowling made sure that there was no court storm. He put his arms out and he was like, nope, nobody's coming to the court. We're going to celebrate the way we know how. This isn't a one-off. We're going to beat this Kansas team every year in Manhattan. What did you think of this game in which Kansas, again, didn't get anything off their bench, and Johnny Furphy looked like early season Johnny Furphy couldn't get on track, so then there was more pressure on those other four guys, and Kansas just didn't have enough firepower, and Tyler Perry was awesome, the North Texas transfer for Kansas State.
Well, I actually, it's interesting. We'll get to Kansas State in a second. Remember, Kansas had a chance to win it in regulation. You got Kevin McCullough at the free throw line. And, they turned a 4-point deficit into a lead there late. And, Kansas didn't make their free throws. I mean, Kevin McCullough, who's their oldest player, didn't convert. That's going to hold anybody back. It's interesting. I think the issues with Kansas State are that they turn the ball over a ton. They don't get much anything out of their front court, but Perry's not a point guard. He's a scorer. He's a shooter scorer. And when they had effectiveness with him late is when they were using him off the ball, running him off screens, catch and shoot. And I thought that K-State showed a good versatility and variety of what they could do offensively in terms of their actions. But to me, here's the deal. KU probably doesn't win the league because of this game. And I think if you ask Bill, he would go and say, possession here, free throw there, blown assignment here. This is the difference between us normally winning the league and us not winning the league. Look, I told you I thought K-State would win. I didn't think it would be an overtime in this style. I was actually really impressed by KU. One of the things they do really, really well, and they make up ground quick on it, is their ability to transition from defense to steal to offense. They transition as well as anybody in the country. But too many missed layups by their point guard, I thought, and then missed free throws. And then they lost Tyler Perry late, where he had been really under wraps for most of the game. And you just can't lose that guy because he can really shoot and score, made a great layup late in regulation. And that's the difference between winning a league and all of a sudden fighting for, second or third or fourth place in what's an unbelievable gauntlet.
Yeah, the only thing I'll probably take issue with you on is Kansas's inability to win the league now. I'm just not counting them out. I think this is a league that's just going to go back and forth. I think there's going to be a little bit of separation eventually between, Kansas, Houston, and some of these other teams. Not a lot, but I think it's eventually going to come down to can Kansas beat Houston at the Fertitta Center in Houston. And if they do, I think they win the league. If they don't, I think the Cougars end up winning the league. But here's my take on Kansas State, Doug. Can these guys now make a run and be a team because of the power of the Big 12 and because there are plenty of other opportunities now for Jerome Tang and the Wildcats? Could they go on a little run? They got Tyler Perry and Kaluma are a pretty good 1-2 punch. But like you said, they don't have a ton of depth. They don't have much up front. Is this a team that you see maybe playing their way into the NCAA tournament after that game, getting hot a little bit, or no?
This is a great discussion. Okay, first, I think that threesome outside of Kaluma, Cam Carter, and Tyler Perry, that's a lethal threesome. But they don't have a true point guard, right? So they're a little turnover prone, and they don't get much out of their front court, and they don't have much depth. And, as much as last night is awesome, right? Remember, they lost 4 in a row heading into it. They still have to go to BYU, still have to go to Texas, still have to go to Cincinnati, still have to go to Kansas, and you have TCU, BYU, West Virginia, Iowa State at home. That's what remains for K-State. So, to me, you sit there, you look, and you're 15-8, but you can't. I think they have to win 4 or 5 more games, counting a game in the Big 12 tournament. Okay? Because remember, if they win just 3 more regular season games, they'll end up having and lose in the Big 12 tournament. You have lost 10 of your last 15 games. And I understand that's not always how it works, right? We view the entire body of work. But I do think that this committee is going to have to take into account that teams really have changed and evolved, since Jan 1. And since Jan 1, Kansas State, until last night, did not look like a tournament team. So can they? Yeah, they have. They're well coached. They're absolutely they can be tenacious defensively when they want to be. I think they're tough enough. They didn't play their zone, but sometimes they go to that kind of 1-3-1 matchup zone. They tried it Saturday in Stillwater. So they have a variety of ways they can beat you, but you're going to have to probably win at least 4, if not 5 more Big 12 games. That just means defending your home court, can't lose to Iowa State at home, can't lose to BYU at home, and then got to find a way to win a road game and a Big 12 tournament game in order to get it done, because they played one more home game than they have road game in the league.
Yeah, Tang said if we go 500, he said it to Scott Van Pelt after the game on an interview. If we go 500, we're a tournament team. I think he's probably right in this day and age, in this Big 12. So you got to go 500 the rest of the way, but that's easier said than done, Doug. I mean, like look at the schedule, and even the whole court at home. It's easy to get up for a team like Kansas.
Listen. Baylor should have beaten them there. Oklahoma State should have beaten them there. Okay, right. So I mean, let's not. And what happens with these games, and that's why South Carolina last week was so impressive, right? It's one thing to smoke Kentucky at home. Whole other thing to smoke Kentucky at home, then go beat Tennessee. Now for K-State, the challenge is, okay, now you have today, attaboys, everywhere on campus, you're the greatest, you beat KU. Okay? Then you got, no, I'm serious. Like, look, that's what happens. That's a real thing. When you're an Aggie, like, that's all that matters to everybody else in town. Like, we don't care about anything else. You beat KU at home, right?
Right.
So now you got to, you get one day of that, and then you got to get ready for the weekend. Now we got to go win a road game. For KU, I understand what you're saying, okay? I think Bill's amazing. Okay? They have improved so much as a team. They know their strengths. Okay? But can we also remember, like, they have lost on the road to Central Florida, West Virginia, and Kansas State, beating Oklahoma State. Yeah. Those are the 4 worst teams in the league.
No, you're right. I get it.
Okay?
Yep.
So
no, I understand it.
I understand they just beat Houston. If you watch the Houston game, okay, that was the most unbelievable shooting display by KU you're ever going to see. I mean, how do you explain Houston turns it over 3 times, out rebounds KU, and loses because KU didn't miss? It was like, what was that movie where it was black and white for half the movie and then color, and they had the basketball scene where they're making all those shots. God, somebody tweet us or at Stadium.
I thought you were going to say that it was you in the driveway back, when you were.
It was me in the driveway. It was me in the driveway. Right. Just because I couldn't make shots in real basketball means I couldn't make shots in the driveway. But look, the thing is this, okay? And a KU fan will know it. Like, this is just not the best group, and it's a ridiculous league. They're everybody's Super Bowl, and all we have to work with. Look, the non-conference, they did a job that they should still be a 1 seed. Based upon all of their wins. The reality is, okay, even though they beat Houston, you can't beat K-State, you can't beat West Virginia, you can't beat Central Florida on the road. What makes you think you can beat Texas or Houston or the teams with more? Texas Tech, who doesn't lose at home, or OU at home? Well, that's really hard to conceive.
I would say what makes me feel like they can win those games now is Johnny Furphy. Not Johnny Furphy from last night, but Johnny Furphy the previous 5 games. And that's a little bit of a difference maker for them.
That's going to happen, Jeff. I mean, again, the difference, look, here's the difference. People always ask, what's the difference in younger players and older players? Obviously, the body type, right? You're with a legit strength and conditioning. Your food's different. And you've seen, if you've watched him from day 1 till now, Furphy's body has changed even in season. Okay, but shot making, defense. But here's the most important thing: the older you are, the more you play. Generally, the more consistent you are. And last night was a dip. He had been playing at a ridiculous level, and I think he'd moved up a little bit on the scouting report. Like the scouting report, you go back 3 weeks ago, was 4 guys and then we can't let any of these other guys get going. Now it's
Right.
5 guys. You know, Furphy is probably moved up to 4th
Third.
in terms of the maybe
Maybe
third of the
third.
skyboard. Yeah.
Right. Maybe third. All right. So hey, Doug, with the loss last night, let's go through our number 1 seeds. All right.
Okay.
So we can both agree. Purdue and UConn are locks at this point. Unless something crazy happens, the Boilermakers and Dan Hurley's UConn Huskies are absolute locks. Purdue's got the best resume out there. UConn's playing the best basketball. Carolina. Are you ready to say that Carolina's kind of a lock? Like, I'm ready to say, as of today, they're a lock, and I don't know where their losses come from in a middle-of-the-road ACC right now. You agree with those 3 teams?
Do I think I don't think anybody's a lock.
What?
How
Really?
can anybody be a lock? Yeah, I mean a lock?
I mean,
like, we still have a
listen,
month left of the season to go, Jeff. What
because
are you talking
Purdue's
about?
not going 0-8. Like, Purdue, at worst case scenario, what's Purdue going to go? 6-2?
Okay, so look, Purdue has 1 game in which they may be an underdog, right, at Illinois, maybe.
Yeah.
And I did the game the first time, and obviously they didn't have their best player, Tanner Shannon. If they go and they lose 1 game, they lose in the Big Ten tournament. Yes, they're a 1 seed lock. But again, like, it's college basketball, bro. Like, do I think they're going to beat Ohio? They lost to Northwestern and should have lost Northwestern at home. Right? They lost to Nebraska.
Purdue and UConn are, listen.
Pretty close. Yes.
I will buy you dinner every night in Phoenix for the Final Four and drinks.
Listen. Hold on. Okay, so it feels. I think Purdue's probably the biggest lock. Okay, but can we remember now UConn? Okay? Their schedule is backloaded. Do I think they're better than Creighton? Yes, they're light years better than Creighton. But they have, of their last, 8 games, 5 are on the road. Georgetown stinks. DePaul stinks. They're not going to lose those games.
Right.
Okay?
So
hold
those
on.
are 2 of the road games.
Listen to what they finish up. They finish up Marquette at home, a team that always gives them trouble. They finish at Creighton, Nova, who desperately would need a win. Again, it's in Gamble, okay? Seton Hall, they pulled up upsets. Then at Marquette, at Providence, and then the Big East tournament. Again, so let me give a scenario to you. Okay? Let's say they lose to Creighton on the road, Marquette on the road, Providence on the road, and then one of those home games to Marquette, and don't win the Big East tournament. I mean, there's a world there where Houston wins the Big 12, probably leapfrogs, then becomes a 1 seed. Again, is it likely? No, but don't do this. The season doesn't end today. You're not in the tournament.
I'm not saying it ends today. I'm just saying it's going to take something crazy for Purdue or UConn not to be number 1 seeds. How's that?
It's very much unlikely. Very much unlikely. Okay, so then that takes us to Kansas, who beat UConn, right?
Yep.
And you talk about signature wins. They've beaten UConn. They've beaten Houston. So, and right now in the net, they're not there. Okay, but there's a lot there still in front of them. Baylor at home would help them. They're non-conference, beating Tennessee, beating UConn, and the loss being to Marquette. That doesn't kill them at all. And they of course have that marquee win over Houston, and then still in front of them, Houston on the road at the end of the season, last game of the year. Texas at home, it will be a good win, right? Like, so for Kansas, they're going to play so many teams in that quad one variety that nothing can really, those losses, even last night, doesn't kill them. Now, they can't keep losing road games, but it's still, they'd be a 1 seed to me based upon the quality of their wins, even if the negativity of their losses would take them down on most people's brackets.
So I will say this: Purdue, UConn, Carolina, and then the 4th one is Kansas or Houston. Now, the metrics love Houston. They're number 1 in the net. They're number 1 in Ken Palm. They're number 1 in Torvik and whoever else you want to say. I would say after last night, going into last night, Kansas is a 1. I might go Houston number 1 today, but I think it's going to be whoever wins the Big 12 out of those 2 should absolutely, with how loaded that league is this year, B, get a final number 1 seed. All right, still to come, Goodman versus Gottlieb. We'll take stock in some of the best mid-majors from around the country and also those who haven't lived up to the hype. We'll tell you who we're buying and selling. Plus, we'll preview a couple of big matchups in the Big 12 tonight. That's next. Nobody keeps you on your toes like one Douglas Gottlieb. Anyway, let's get to our.
By the way, how'd our picks work out last night?
Did you win both?
Yep.
I know you won Kansas State. I know you
Kansas
destroyed
Virginia.
me again.
I don't know why.
No.
Like, what? That was so like. Listen, I know it's not what we're getting to. I know it's not the rundown. I just want to point out, like, if you're a Miami fan, and there's no real Miami basketball fans. Let's just got to be honest. Okay, but that had to be the most excruciating 2 hours ever. Like, you just can't score. Like, why can't we score?
Yeah.
Like, because that's Virginia. You ain't scoring.
Yeah, luckily Jim Larinaga can still wake up in Miami, so he's just fine. Don't worry about Jimmy Larinaga. All right, stock up, stock down segment here, and we're going mid-major route today, Doug. And I'm going to start with my stock up. And it is Buckyball in Sanford, Alabama. The Bulldogs are 20-3. This guy was hired by A.D. Martin Newton a few years ago out of high school. And he plays kind of a crazy up-tempo system. They shoot a ton of threes. Right now they're shooting 40% from three as a team. All three of their top scorers are all shooting over 42% from three. They are, again, loading up in the SoCon, a really good league. And they've won 20 games each of the last 3 years. This is a guy that honestly, high majors just start to look at. He's young, he's got energy, he's innovative, and the Sanford Bulldogs for me stock up. Who do you got, Doug?
All right, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go with Yale. The people in the know call them the Eli's. They go by the Bulldogs, but pretty impressive what they've been able to do as they took down Princeton at home and been on a winning streak. Haven't lost a game since losing to KU on December 22nd. So have not lost a game. Remember, and they followed up the KU game by winning at Santa Clara. Always difficult to beat. Herb Sendek and the Broncos are pretty good. There's a 3-team race atop the Ivy League. I think Cornell is just an offensive machine on how they play. But Yale is tough and physical. And like I said, haven't lost a game in the Ivy League, been on a run, haven't lost a game in the new year. And, still have to go to Princeton on the 17th of February. But right now I'm going to stock up on the Yale Bulldogs.
All right, we got to go to the negative here, Doug. I know how much you hate doing that. Stock down on the mid-majors. I'm going with UCSB out in your neck of the woods a little bit there because they were picked to win the Big West. They had 9 of the 11 first-place votes. They got a John Mitchell back, one of their best players. They added Johan Traore, transfer from Auburn, a former top 100 recruit coming out of high school. They're 13-8. But they're 6-5 right now in the league, Doug. UC Irvine is running that league right now. Russell Turner, and right now UCSB has been a major disappointment.
Wait, repeat that to me. Who's running the league again? Say that one more time.
Irvine, Russell Turner.
No. Oh, okay. The same coach that I had said would be great at Stanford, does an amazing job. You're like, oh, you love Russell Turner. What? I don't love Russell Turner like he's a friend. I like him. Dude's amazing. His best player left and went to BYU. He can coach. They played 10 dudes. I don't know how he does it. So Russ Turner absolutely does a great job. But I will tell you, UCSB, if Joe Pasternak's crew can figure it out and win the Big West tournament, that's a team that'll pop up as like a 15 seed, and they do not have 15 seed talent. They are a talented team. Would not surprise me to see them win the conference tournament and then win a game in the NCAA tournament. All right, stock down. I'm gonna go with Princeton. Okay, this is a team.
What's with you in the Ivy today? You're like all over the Ivy.
I pay attention. Okay, and Princeton's won. The metrics really like them, right? As of now, I think they would be in as an at-large potentially, but they just lost to Cornell and to Yale. Those are the 3 most difficult games, most difficult teams in the league. And like I said, Cornell's really good. Yale's kind of had their number the last couple of years, but like again, Princeton, you got to get one of those 2 on the road. Now the Ivy League, of course, remember, does have a tournament now. They won their tournament last year and won a couple games in the NCAA tournament. I got it. A little bit disappointing. They kind of got pushed around at Yale. I thought going back, was that Saturday night because they play Friday, Saturday. They got pushed around a little bit, or maybe that was Friday night because then they won Saturday. I can't remember. Anyway, point is, stock slightly down for Princeton. I'm not selling my Princeton stock. I also, one reason I follow it is I do feel like, and the Patriot League is a little bit like this as well. A lot of people in basketball like it because it's the way it used to be, right? It's the way it used to be.
Not a lot of transfers. Right.
No transfers. No transfers. Right. And you only get 4. You get 4 years regardless. And you can go play somewhere else if you want. And, get your degree 4 years and then you go play somewhere else. So, stock down.
All right, let's do a couple buzzer beaters. Buzzer beaters for tonight. Some really good games. The best one might be Texas Tech going to Waco and playing Baylor. The Red Raiders were about as hot as any team in the country. Now they've lost a couple in a row at TCU and a bad one at United Supermarkets Arena to Cincinnati. Baylor feels like they're kind of back on track a little bit here. Who wins this one, Doug?
I think Baylor wins this one, but I think it's really close. Tech has had some games in which they've actually pulled out of their backside. K-State reminds me of one. There's a couple of, even go back to Saturday where they had to have a explosion Saturday to get back in that game. But I don't think you can come back like that against this Baylor team. I like the Bears at home in their new arena, especially after that wild one they won on Saturday when Scott Drew got ejected.
I also like the Bears in this one. Hate to agree with you, but I like Baylor in this one. Iowa State at Texas in Austin. TJ Otzelberger, we know what a job he's done this year. You don't know what you're going to get out of the Texas Longhorns. They're kind of that like just you can't get a good feel. Kind of like Villanova. I feel like Villanova and Texas are the two teams that you just have no idea what you're going to get night to night. I think Texas at the Moody Center is going to come to play tonight. I think it's a good matchup against Iowa State. I'm taking the Longhorns.
I'm going to take Iowa State. You know, they've won at TCU. You know, I thought they've been competitive on the road. They're just, it's like you said, there feels like there's something missing with this Texas team. Yeah. I can't quite pinpoint it. Maybe it's shooting. You know, like I like their point guards. They play two of them. I love Brock Cunningham. Dylan Dessou has really improved. Saw him hit a three the other day. He's still blocking shots. Like, I like their group. But for whatever reason, they should be a little bit better than they are. And I think Iowa State, man, that team's tougher than a $2 steak. I like the Clones on the road.
Texas laying 2.5 in that game. All right, another good one. Ole Miss, Chris Beard takes his team to Columbia, South Carolina. This is a big one because South Carolina is rolling right now. Could there be any letdown for Lamont Paris's club with Ole Miss coming in tonight?
There's no question there could be a letdown. I think that if Chris was honest, you know, and he's a pretty honest dude, like we just don't have that top of the league sort of thing going on. I think South Carolina wins and covers at home tonight.
Yeah, I'm going to take the home team here as well. I saw that environment when they beat Kentucky. It is going to be electric in Columbia tonight. All right, Doug, you're electric as well. Go hit Vegas. We'll see you tomorrow. Goodman versus Gottlieb.